I can't believe Dexter Lawrence is publicly threatening our rookie quarterback. Meanwhile, our defensive coordinator already has the perfect plan to neutralize his most dangerous weapon. And if you thought you had seen the most embarrassing plays of this franchise, wait to remember the one that made us a national laughingstock. Stick around because this is just the beginning. Let's get straight to the point because this has me completely outraged. The New York Giants are already talking. And when I say talking, I mean Dexter Lawrence is practically threatening Jayden Daniels before he even steps on the field in the regular season. And you know what I think about this? It's a total lack of respect towards our rookie quarterback and the entire Commanders organization. Lawrence held nothing back when he spoke about our rookie in his weekly press conference. His exact words were that he's going to need an aggressive mindset to contain Daniels. But did you hear what he really said? We have to put bodies at his feet, raise hands to bat passes, contain him, not let him escape and be aggressive. Don't ease off the charges. Don't ease off our aggressive mindset. Keep attacking him. What do I say about this? That Lawrence is publicly acknowledging that Jayden Daniels is such a big threat that they need to completely change their defensive mindset. And I love that. Because when your rival's all-pro, defensive tackle has to come out and explain in a press conference how they're going to try to neutralize you. You've already won the mental game before the first quarter starts. But here comes what truly worries me. And you as smart Commanders fans must understand the implications of these statements. Lawrence specifically mentioned putting bodies at his feet. In football, that phrase has a very clear connotation, and it's not exactly friendly. Do you think this is a coincidence? I tell you no. The Giants know that if they can't stop Daniels conventionally, they're going to try to intimidate him physically. This intimidation strategy is not new for the Giants. Remember that Tom Coughlin was always known for having physical and aggressive defenses. Now Brian Daboll and his defensive coordinator are adopting the same mentality because they know they're facing a mobile quarterback who can destroy their traditional defensive schemes. And do you know why Lawrence is so desperate to project this image of aggressiveness? Because his team won just 3 games last season. 3 games. We won 4 in 2023. And look how we ended last season with Dan Quinn and Jayden Daniels completely transforming the team's culture. The Giants are in total survival mode, and a desperate defensive tackle is a dangerous. Defensive tackle. Lawrence also revealed something very interesting about his mental state when he talked about the team's growth. He said, "The way we communicate on the field, the way we run to the ball, the way we tackle, the way we do the simple things is better." Do you realize what he's admitting? That last year, they didn't know how to do the basics correctly. But I think Lawrence is underestimating something fundamental about our quarterback. Jayden Daniels is not Carson Wentz, who got intimidated under pressure. He's not Taylor Heinicke, who made desperate decisions when pressured. This kid came from LSU, having faced the most aggressive and talented defenses in college football, including Georgia with Kirby Smart, Alabama with Nick Saban, and Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. Do you really think they're going to intimidate him with pressure up the middle? Daniels faced defenses that had 3 and 4 future first-round players every week in the SEC. Dexter Lawrence may be all-pro, but he's not better than everything Daniels has already faced in college. Lawrence also said something very telling. When asked about long-term season goals, we have to beat Washington. That's how I'm going to answer that question. Do you notice the pressure and desperation in that response? This guy knows that if they lose against us in week 1, especially at home against a team they dominated for years, their season could be practically over before it starts. The pressure is completely on the Giants. They are the team that needs to prove they can compete after a disastrous season. We are the team that has already proven we can win with this core group of players in this system. But do you know what bothers me most about Lawrence's statements? The implicit disrespect towards Jayden Daniels. He's talking as if he's facing a veteran quarterback he already knows, not a rookie who just won the Heisman Trophy and led one of the best college offenses in recent history. Now I ask you this. Do you think our rookie quarterback is going to be intimidated by the threats of a team that won 3 games last season? Or do you think these declarations will motivate Daniels even more to show why he was the 2nd overall pick in the draft? If that surprises you, wait to hear this. While Lawrence plans his aggressiveness against our quarterback, our defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. already has the perfect answer to neutralize the Giants' most dangerous weapon, Malik Neighbors. And this is where things get really interesting and exciting for us Commanders fans because we finally have a coordinator who talks like a professional. Witt not only acknowledged the exceptional talent of Neighbors, but also explained exactly why this LSU guy is so dangerous for opposing defenses. His words were precise and technically perfect. What makes him dangerous is he's a really good athlete, but right after the catch is probably where he's best. Once the ball's in his hands, he's very dangerous. He can leave people behind. He has the power to break tackles, which makes him dynamic. Do you understand the importance of what Witt is doing here? He's studying the tape like a true professional. He's identifying exactly what makes Neighbors special at every level of the field, and that tells me he already has a specific, detailed, and proven plan to neutralize him. Because Witt knows perfectly well that Neighbors recorded 19 catches for 186 yards and a touchdown in his 2 games against us last season. But here comes the part that has me completely excited about this new era of the Commanders and about the professional mentality we finally have. Witt expressed a technical confidence I haven't heard from a Washington defensive coordinator in years, possibly decades. His exact words were, "If we've been practicing, we have to take our practice onto the field. We've been very sticky." Very sticky? I tell you, that's music to my ears. Because when a defensive coordinator talks with that specific confidence about his secondary, especially mentioning by name Marshon Lattimore, Trey Amos, and Mike Sanristel, it's because he's seen something special, something different, something superior in practices that we as fans haven't yet witnessed in official games. Witt also revealed something absolutely crucial about the specific preparation against Neighbors that convinces me this year will be completely different from previous seasons. He said his defenders have been challenging routes, losing the ball, and communicating while doing those things. Do you realize how specific and technical this analysis is? He's not speaking in vague generalities like the previous coordinators we had, like Greg Minuski or Jack Del Rio. He's describing exactly, step by step, how they plan to attack the most dangerous strength of Neighbors, which is his ability after the catch. Witt also showed a level of professional respect that indicates, to me, he truly understands what they're up against. He acknowledged that Neighbors can attack defenses on multiple levels of the field, and that he's one of the best young receivers in the league. But immediately afterward, he expressed total and grounded confidence that his secondary is better, equipped to defend that kind of dynamic threat than a year ago. And do you know what's the smartest thing about all this technical analysis? Witt is sending a very clear and calculated message to both the Giants and us fans. We completely respect Neighbors as an elite player, but we don't fear him as an impossible threat to contain. And that balanced mentality between respect and confidence is exactly what we need against a receiver who averaged more than 9 receptions per game against us last season. The difference between this defensive coordinator and all those we've had in previous years is absolutely abysmal. Witt is speaking with specific data, with technical confidence backed by practices, and most importantly, with a clear and detailed plan. Do you remember the last time we heard a coordinator talk like this about preparing to neutralize a specific rival? But Witt didn't stop at the analysis of Neighbors. He also talked about the general growth of his defensive unit, and his words have me completely convinced that we are facing something special. He said, "I'm satisfied with the way those guys have challenged routes, lost the ball, and communicated while doing those things." Do you realize he's talking about 3 fundamental elements of an elite defense? Challenging routes means pressure on the line of scrimmage. Losing balls means opportunism and technique. Communication means they work as a cohesive unit. Those are exactly the elements we lacked in previous years. What also revealed something about Martian Lattimore that has me excited for this season's start. Although he didn't give specific details in this press conference, his confidence when mentioning Lattimore, along with Amos Insane Ristel, tells me that the veteran cornerback is completely healthy and ready to face elite receivers like Neighbors. Do you trust that Witt can neutralize Neighbors as he promises, or do you think we're being too optimistic after years of defensive disappointments? And when you thought we had finished with important news, let me remind you why we should never underestimate how strange, ridiculous, and embarrassing things can get when we play against the Giants, and why this new era of the Commanders under Dan Quinn is so fundamentally different from what we've experienced as an organization. Because once, not too long ago, a single play made us the national laughingstock and practically defined an entire dark era of this franchise. It was December of 2009, specifically the 13th of December, and I still remember that cold night at FedEx Field like it was yesterday. Jim Zorn was our head coach, and everyone following the team knew his time was up. The season had been a total disaster, and this night against the Giants would be another national humiliation in prime time. We were losing 24-0 against these same New York Giants at home in our own stadium with exactly 2 seconds left in the first half. The fans were booing nonstop. The offense had been completely ineffective, and we had one last chance for a field goal to make the score a bit more respectable, maybe 24-3 at halftime, and then the absolutely unthinkable happened. The most ridiculous thing I've seen in decades, following this franchise. Jim Zorn, in total desperation and with his job hanging by a thread, ordered the most embarrassing, the most incomprehensible, the most amateur play in this organization's modern history, the infamous swinging gate. 7 of our 11 players ran to the left side of the field, leaving only the center, holder Hunter Smith, kicker Sean Susham, and a lone receiver completely exposed in the middle of the field. The supposedly genius idea, according to Zorn, was to completely surprise the Giants' defense and have Hunter Smith, our punter, who actually had a good arm, throw for a touchdown to the end zone and magically turn a 24-0 hopeless score into a 24-7 hopeful one at halftime. But you know what happened immediately? Tom Coughlin, the veteran Giants coach who had seen it all in his football decades, observed our strange and obviously suspicious formation and called a timeout. Immediate timeout. Coughlin knew exactly what we were trying to do because the formation was so obvious. It looked like something out of a high school playbook. Now, I ask this to you as smart fans. What does any professional coach with half a brain do when the rival calls a timeout after seeing your supposed surprise play? Immediately change the play. The element of surprise was completely and totally lost. The Giants knew exactly what was coming, had time to prepare, and we were going to run the play anyway. And what did Jim Zorn do after Coughlin's timeout? Kept the play. Kept the swinging gate. I can't believe I'm talking about this again after all these years, but it was so embarrassing, so representative of how bad we were as a professional organization, that I have to remind you to make you understand the abysmal difference with what we have now under Dan Quinn. What happened next was predictably disastrous and painful to watch. 3 Giants defenders, now fully prepared and waiting exactly on what we were going to do, brutally crush Hunter Smith before he could even complete his throwing motion. Smith, desperate and being hit by multiple defenders, tossed a wobbly and pathetic pass towards the end zone before being violently taken down. The result was exactly what anyone with basic knowledge of football would have predicted. Bruce Johnson, Giants cornerback, easily intercepted the wobbly pass and nearly returned it for a touchdown, running over 80 yards before being tackled near our goal line. If he had scored, the score would have been 31-0 instead of 24-0 at halftime. But the real damage wasn't on the scoreboard. The damage was to our national reputation, fans' confidence, and the entire organization's credibility. That ridiculous play was shown on every national sports program for weeks. We became the perfect example of how not to run an NFL franchise. That play practically ended Jim Zorn's career as head coach immediately. He was fired shortly after the season ended, and rightfully so. But the damage to the franchise's image lasted for years. Why do I remind you of this painful memory that many of you surely prefer to forget and probably causes nightmares to veteran fans? Because now, 16 years after that national humiliation, we have a completely different team, a completely transformed organization, and a totally professional culture. We have Dan Quinn, a coach who perfectly understands game situations, respects rivals, and would never make such a desperate and amateur decision. Quinn led Super Bowl defenses with the Seattle Seahawks and reached the Super Bowl as head coach with the Atlanta Falcons. He knows what professionalism means. We have Jaden Daniels, an intelligent, prepared, and mentally strong quarterback who won't be intimidated by Dexter Lawrence's aggressive mindset threats or any other Giants player. And we have Joe Witt, Jr., a defensive coordinator who is already 3 steps ahead of what Malik Neighbors and the entire Giants offense plans to do. The difference between 2009 and 2025 is absolutely abysmal in all aspects. In 2009, we had a desperate coach making desperate decisions that humiliated us on national television. In 2025, we have an organization that meticulously plans, studies rivals professionally, prepares adequately, and respects both the game and the fans who has suffered for years. Do you think Dan Quinn would order something as ridiculous and unprofessional as the swinging gate against the Giants or any team? I tell you, never in life. Because we finally have real professional, competent, and respected leadership in this organization. The difference is not just in personnel, it's in the whole organizational mentality. Josh Harris as owner versus Dan Snyder, Dan Quinn versus Jim Zorn, Jaden Daniels versus the desperate quarterbacks we had in 2009, Joe Witt Jr. versus the amateur coordinators we had for years. Can you believe we were once so desperate, so poorly managed, so unprofessional as to attempt that embarrassing play against these same Giants? Can you imagine the difference in preparation and mentality between that 2009 organization and what we have now? After analyzing these 3 completely different but connected situations, I think we're seeing the perfect contrast between the shameful past and the promising present of this franchise. On one hand, we have Dexter Lawrence threatening our rookie quarterback with aggressive mindset, but his threats sound more like desperation than confidence. A team that won 3 games doesn't threaten from a position of strength. On the other hand, we have Joe Witt Jr. speaking with professional confidence about neutralizing Malik Neighbors, showing exactly the kind of preparation and mentality we never had during the era of Jim Zorn and the swinging gate. And finally, we have that embarrassing memory from 2009 that reminds us how far we've come as an organization. From ridiculous plays that turned us into a national laughingstock to having a serious plan to compete against the same rivals. The question isn't whether the Giants will bring aggression on Sunday. The question is whether they're prepared for the professional, intelligent, and well-prepared response they'll receive from these new Washington Commanders. Now I ask you this after all we've analyzed. Are you ready to see how this new era of the Commanders responds to the Giants' threats? Because after years of being the NFC East laughingstock, after embarrassing plays like the swinging gate, after amateur coordinators and desperate decisions, we finally have the right pieces in place. Do you believe our rookie quarterback is ready to face Dexter Lawrence's aggressive mindset and show why he was the draft's 2nd pick? Do you trust that Witt can neutralize Neighbors as he promises and that our secondary is really sticky as he says? And can you believe the abysmal difference between the 2009 amateur organization and the professional franchise we have now? Leave me your detailed responses in the comments because I want to know exactly what you think about these 3 situations that will define not only our season opener, but also how this new era responds to adversity and threats. If you believe that Daniels will dominate the Giants from the first snap and that Lawrence will regret his public threats, leave a like. If you think this defense is finally ready for great things and that Neighbors will not repeat his dominant numbers from last season against us, subscribe because this is just the beginning, and every week will bring more explosive news because you are part of this Commanders family, and together we will witness how this new era responds to all those who doubted us, to all who underestimated us, and to all the rivals who think they can intimidate us. Don single quotes D, miss a second of what's coming, because I guarantee you every game decision, every play, every press statement will have news that will impact the entire league and define the future of this franchise. And remember, hail to the Redskins!